Which is better, Resident Evil 2 Remake or The Last of Us? Why is this not a question that's posed more often on gaming message boards? Why is it something that's not really talked about or discussed? What really is the best zombie game? What do people look for in a zombie game? What do people look for in zombie fiction in general? What do people like about The Last of Us or Resident Evil 2 Remake? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Why is there no real debate? Because when you really lay it down like that, when you really address the elephant in the room, it becomes exceedingly obvious that The Last of Us cannot compete in any capacity. Like, when you get right down to it, the only thing that The Last of Us has going for it is that it has a high production budget, voice acting, cinematics, visuals. I wasn't impressed with the visuals. So, again, I wasn't impressed with the acting or the writing either. Meanwhile, Resident Evil 2 Remake is an actual video game. Like, it actually has interesting mechanics and features and level design and combat and just things that keep people coming back to it years and years ago. It's not a coincidence that this game could come out in 98, I believe it was, 98, and still win people over with how today with a really solid remake, because it was a legitimately well-made, engaging experience for the Sony PlayStation. I'm emphasizing the PlayStation aspect of this to really drive this home. When you really get down to it, there's nothing special about The Last of Us. Like, there's absolutely nothing of value to be gained here. Again, what happened with Resident Evil 2 when it came out? We got Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil Code Veronica, Resident Evil 4, one of the best games of all time. Like, you had these series that built off what 2 established and tried different things, for better or worse, and then it continued to the modern day, and it continues to reinvent itself. Resident Evil 7 took place, first person and was radically different than a lot of the other games in the series. The Last of Us, with the radical change in direction with The Last of Us Part 2, with like the lesbian character action of Ellie going on an adventure to save her waifu, it's not going to work. Like, I am flat out going to say this now. The Last of Us Part 2 is going to be a much lesser sequel, a much less well-regarded game than the original. Like, the original was didn't deserve the reputation it got, for sure. I will always say that, but it sort of resonated with people because zombies were big back then. It was generic as fuck. PlayStation owners didn't have anything else to play. They were starved for exclusives. The Last of Us was a complete piece of shit, right? But it was like, how, The Last of Us Part 2, it's, nobody raises these questions. Like, nobody seriously compares The Last of Us to other games in the genre, because it becomes very, very apparent, very, very quickly, under any scrutiny, that The Last of Us simply can't compete. I suspect that Resident Evil is going to remain very relevant and very popular for decades to come. And The Last of Us, this might be the last romp. This might be Ellie's last stand. I guarantee you she's going to live at the end. She's going to get her girl. I'm going to guarantee you that that Joel is going to die. He's probably going to fuck over Ellie in some way, I imagine, considering like the people behind this. It's very, very predictable what they're going to do. It's a very politically motivated game. I'm half expecting like Donald Trump to be the antagonist. Obviously this is all just speculation at this stage, but I suspect that we're going to get more confirmation along these lines rather soon. We're already seeing like lots of major red flags with voice actors giving disclaimers. Um, uh, there's a rumor going around that the villains are a homophobic Christian cult. If they seriously do that, like they're completely fucked. Like there is no way that's gonna fly. Like so yeah, so I will definitely be keeping an eye on this release, and I'll be covering it extensively, and I will be sure to let you know when it releases just why Resident Evil 2 Remake is better. So until then, I will see you all next time.